Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. This is the weekend derby review. We're looking at the game week. I say just gone, but mid-game week. Of course, we've still got a couple of fixtures left. We're going to look at triple captaincy. We have got a jam-packed show. We're going to be doing transfers. We've got an awesome bonus beast feature that you may have seen for the first time last Monday. We've got the eye test report. It's a full show, Dean, and it's been a full weekend as well. Like proper good derbies we've seen. I don't even know if I was to pick out the one headline. Like Brighton winning's awesome, United winning great for neutral. Arsenal now surely going to win the league. So much to digest, right?
I don't know about Arsenal definitely winning the league. We're halfway through the season. But look, it's amazing the storylines that we've got teed up, especially as Arsenal do play Man United next. Suddenly that's a title crunch, which none of us were expecting at the start of the season. Just brilliant stories, like Arsenal so convincing, like what a performance to go and turn on at Tottenham. And Man United to turn that game around, to turn it into a really entertaining game for 60 minutes. It was tactical, a bit boring in some ways, to be honest, as a neutral. But ultimately, we've now got a proper story. And do you know what? I'm starting to get excited about the way FPL is now opening up. Yeah. I think we're starting to now be able to look at taking more punts on players. There's going to be, at the moment, in me and you, I think we've got about 8 players, about the same, maybe 7. I hope that changes over the next month or so. I hope that us having an open title race means that there's more room for movement and less obvious picks. And I do feel like that's the way we're heading. I mean, obviously, we've teed this up as triple captain fail. I'm not sure you're quite a failure yet with your Haaland, but I've just tweeted, do we even need Haaland anymore? It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, obviously. But honestly, we're no longer at the point where you have to have him captain.
Yeah,
it's fair. A big risk at the moment. We might be getting there where you can start to move that around.
Yeah, I think if he blanks midweek, Thursday night, we'll be looking at maybe a few different options, although he does have Wolves at home in game week 21. I don't know. Good to see so many regulars in the chat. Super Duper FC, FPL River, I've seen Ali and Gaurav. Mark's with us, and Colm and Marshall and CH and FPL River. Good to see you guys. And if you're watching this on catch up, great to see you all too. Please do put those comments in, but please do give us a like and subscribe. Dean, tonight we're going to be obviously looking at transfers and stuff, but reviewing the game week just gone. We mentioned the triple captain stuff in Haaland. I think we should probably have a little chat on that. I reckon about 30% of the FPL community went triple captain Haaland. Maybe, it was around, I think about 30. Looking back on it, many have said, shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have gone there. I'm still happy with that decision. And I think we're all perhaps looking at that first game going, it was a bad call, but we're still halfway through. He's the type of player, especially at the Etihad, that can go crazy. But if we look at the game just gone, City were goal shy, shot shy. And against Southampton, they had no shots on target. And I think against United, maybe they had 1 shot on target. It was poor. What's going on? How do we summarize that?
I think United did a good job on them. I think that's part of it. I would say that there's not one consistent problem in Man City at the moment. So it's difficult to put your finger on why things aren't clicking. Like, for example, if you look at the Southampton defeat in the Cup and then the United defeat in the league, I think they're for very different reasons. I think a lot of the Southampton defeat was down to not raising their levels or maybe their interest in the game enough there. Whereas United, I think that was all there. I think that they applied themselves properly. Yeah. But they couldn't create or finish in the way that they typically would. And obviously, it goes back to the discussion whereby Man City used to share the goals out. There used to be this route to goal where it'd be pass, get to the byline, cut it back, and someone taps it in. Raheem Sterling taps it in. Whoever it is taps it in. And those goals are kind of dried up now. It's all about Haaland.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that doesn't work because he's got a lot of goals this season and it has worked. But since the World Cup, maybe teams have become a bit smart to this. Maybe the fact that there's been a break has meant that sides have had a bit more time to analyse Man City. They're not at their best. Pep has kind of pointed towards the World Cup for that. Says players aren't at their same levels since they came back. I don't know why, but the players in my team aren't at the same levels. And there just seems to be a problem. Now, it's obviously going to be a brave decision to take Haaland out of our teams because he could turn it back on at any moment. And to be honest, he might still save this game week because Tottenham aren't very good. They're poor, to be honest. And there are big frailties that you can play on in that team in terms of personalities, but also performances. And I feel like they might prey on them here. I feel like it might even be a bit of a pasting. And Haaland, if he's the beast he thinks he is, he says he is, and to be honest, we know he is, then this might be the game where he delivers an absolute monster performance.
Yeah, I'm happy. I genuinely, the reason I triple captained him was for that fixture. Like, I don't back Man City away, especially this season. They've been a bit goal shy and certainly shot shy away from home. But at home, they're a reliable force, and Haaland's going to get chances galore down that centre with Spurs. Arsenal had tons of chances, and Spurs were at home then. Arsenal and City are similar sides in the way they play. Worth noting that 11, no predictor called that. No one saw Cancelo and Walker starting that football match together. No. We thought it would be one or the other with Rico Lewis. We thought we might see Ake left back, maybe Walker and Cancelo both missing out or both started. Ake the preferred option at left centre back over Laporte. That's worth logging. Ake actually played all right. I thought Kanji was a bit hot and cold. And in midfield, Foden started as a wide forward, hooked before 60. Those that went Mahrez weren't rewarded either. Pep gonna Pep. I still think like if you want those reliable assets, it's Haaland, KDB. And I do think at the back line, Ake is still and will continue to be flavour of the month. Loads when Ederson instead of Kepa. Kepa with 10 points, that was massive. But look, let's have a look at how our weeks have gone so far with Pick My Team.
Yeah.
We've got Pimp My Team coming up soon, but first we're going to the eye test. Of course we are. So look, we've got this new bonus beast feature coming up later, and if you saw last Monday's show, I think it's a really nice addition. Now, in that feature, we look at four players that hog the bonus. Now, sometimes these are the same players that catch your eye. Okay, the stats and the eye test often are aligned. So outside of those bonus points beasts, I'm looking at three other players. So look, we're tipping the 4 bonus point beasts. We're looking at them later, but we're also looking at 3 players now. So those 3 players that caught my eye this week. First up, Bruno Fernandes. Yes, he got the goal, but I was really, really excited by his average position. He's high up the pitch, and he's not always been high up the pitch under Ten Hag. Certainly not in that Ollie position. When he was playing for Ollie, he was a second striker all the time, and the goals were coming. But what we saw with the United lineup this time was as we thought up top, Martial, on the left, Rashford, but we were surprised, weren't we? We didn't have Antony starting, and with that, Bruno joined the front 3. So Bruno was effectively one position further up the pitch. Rather than playing in a midfield 3 with Eriksen and Casemiro, he played Eriksen, Fred, and Casemiro. So Bruno becomes a front 3 player. And I just wonder if that's a sign of things to come. Certainly in the trickier fixtures, Fred had a really good game, and that midfield 3 of Fred, Casemiro and Eriksen worked really well. So I just think it's worth noting that Bruno and his returns have been good of late. Like he had a 9-pointer against City, but that was also off the back of 6-pointer against Bournemouth, 6-pointer against Wolves. He's ticking along, and at the moment there's so many good budget players in the game. I think money's not an issue, which is why I don't think there's a few reasons why we won't consider selling Haaland, but I think money's another one. Like we don't actually need the funds. There's not loads of premiums. We're not needing to jump on a Mo Salah, or a year's gone by. We had a Sadio Mane doing it. He's not in the league anymore, but similar price point to that premium tag. So I think you can get away with money in the bank, even by going Bruno and maybe no Salah, for example.
Mm.
So just worth considering. I think the fixtures for United are good. I know they've got Arsenal up next, but then it's Palace, Leeds, Leicester, Brentford. I see goals, and we've all got Rashford. I don't hate at all the Rashford Bruno double up if you can afford it.
Mm.
What
Yeah,
do you thought of Bruno under the manager and sort of positions he's taken up and the way he's playing? Because he's pumped. He looks like a proper captain out there.
he does, and he's talking like one too. I found it really interesting to listen to the way Bruno Fernandes is talking. He seems very, very determined, and he's very protective of the players in his team, the club as a whole, and also, when you put to him the fact that his goal maybe shouldn't have stood, he doesn't like that. He doesn't want to hear that. And he was, he kind of hit back at it and said, it is what it is, and explained why he thought it could be a goal. And I just like this version of Bruno Fernandes we're seeing. He's still spiky. As a opposing fan, you don't really like Bruno Fernandes because of the way that he goes about the game. But as a United fan, you love him. And I think you're going to love him even more. We're probably getting back to the Fernandes that used to deliver, every week at one point. We might be getting back towards that. It's been a while since Fernandes has been a must-have, like a really long while.
Yeah.
But we might be getting back there. I don't think it's going to be a typical thing that we see him out wide. I think they got too many good options to consider in this team, and he's not always a good fit out there. But yeah, especially, with Weghorst now available to United, things are going to become a little different. Now, he'll play differently up top to Martial.
Yeah, very differently.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I could even see a situation opening up whereby if Weghorst does well, United end up buying him and selling Martial. Like, that wouldn't surprise me. The problem you got in Martial, I think he's a really good footballer, but like the inconsistency of having him available is ridiculous. And you can't possibly build a team with him as part of it because within 3 games he's going to be back out of the team. And
or off at half
Weghorst,
time because he's injured.
Yeah, or he can't even get through the game.
Through a football match, can he? When he's
I think
Weghorst,
fit, yeah, I think Weghorst might be better than most people are expecting. It's probably good that there's low expectation generally around this guy because he's a really good player, and he'll also play differently for Man United. And during this run-in, with that determination to prove people wrong, with United just having now a couple of variations to the way that attack's going to work, I think it gives them something pretty special.
6 million he came in today.
Yeah, exactly.
If he gets the run of games, I genuinely think he's a good option. And I think Bruno will like playing off a target man. Bruno, for those late runs into the box, the knockdowns, I think Bruno could benefit from Veggie.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting second half of the season here because the league is wide open. Arsenal will not have this all their own way. And, the next game, honestly, that Arsenal United game is a massive one. My hunch is Arsenal will win it. I do think they're the better team at the moment in this league. But it might not come down to that. It might come down to a moment. It might be that emotions run high. It might be that, like the last game, Arsenal are the better team, but they still lose 3-1.
Yeah.
These are the moments now that will just define Arsenal's season. And someone said it in the chat earlier on, like, the points gap doesn't matter too much right now. It's great to have that. There's no doubt about it. It does a lot for their confidence. But the fact they've still got to play all these big teams around them, lose those games, and it doesn't matter anyway. So, yeah, it's very exciting. Danny asks, what price is Weghorst? Have we seen
6.
one yet?
Yeah,
6. Sorry, it is 6.
Yeah, 6 mil.
That's a really good price. Like, there's a really good price.
Yeah, we just need to see him get a run in the game. If he becomes a starter, and I really think he could, then you have to look at United.
I really think he could. Yeah, I definitely think he could. As I say, not because Martial's not a good player, but because he's just not dependable.
Yeah, and remember, his managers spent time working at Bayern Munich in under Pep, and he would have watched a lot of him at Wolfsburg. He knows this guy well. Back to the Bruno stuff. He's not. We don't know if Bruno's on pens. The last penalty Man United got was in the cup. Rashford and Bruno were both on the pitch, and Rashford took it. So you'd have to assume Rashford's on pens, which is weird because Bruno's got a good record. But the way Rashford's playing, I guess he wants to be that main man. So worth noting, if you are going to Bruno, you probably can't rely on pens. Look, we see fewer pens now anyway than what we did when VAR first came to the Prem, and Bruno was getting a pen every other week. Yeah. Let's move on to a couple of others. I'll do these fairly quick. The first one's Nonto. Leeds were so unlucky to lose against Aston Villa. I think the manager came out and said, Jesse Marsh, at the end of the game, that's the best Leeds have played since he's been there. And they've won ugly a few times, but say the best they played in a 2-1 defeat to Aston Villa is quite surprising away from home. But they were that good, and their XG was, I think, 1.5 at 55 minutes in. I tweeted it. I think it was 1.4 something, 1.5. That's how unlucky they were not to score. Inspired performance from Martinez. Nonto caused them all sorts of issues. He's a 5 million forward, which is a shame. I've spoken about him before in the eye test. But with the fixtures Leeds have got, they only got 1 goal against Villa, but it could have been 2 or 3. Could have been 4 or 5. They've got Brentford, Forest, United, Everton, Southampton up next. And I genuinely think Nonto is worth consideration. But look, as always with this eye test report, I'm not tipping absolute obvious picks here. And as always, we can only afford 1 or 2 differentials in our squad because the template players are template for a reason. They're doing well. But Nonto is worth just being on your watch list. Keep monitoring him.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then the third one I've gone for is, this one's a little bit different, is Jose Sarr at Wolves. Now, Wolves do not score goals. Like, they will win 1-0 or they will draw 0-0, or they'll lose the game, right? I think we're going to get a lot of 1-0 wins from Wolves, and I think we're going to get a lot of 0-0s as well. And Jose Sarr has got 2 dreadful games coming up. It's City and Liverpool. I'm not suggesting you buy him yet, but then it's a really nice run of games. Southampton, Bournemouth, Fulham. I think they keep clean sheets in all of those. And Jose Sarr at 5 million, we saw at points last season what a valuable asset he can be. He can clock up the save points. He's a banker for clean sheets. He does all right in the bonus. I think he got 3 bonus at the weekend. I like him. And when you look at bonus points, you're competing with your teammates. Now, if you're not scoring goals in that team, well, Jose Sarr's not got to compete with midfielders and forwards that get goals and assists. So if they keep a clean sheet, he's probably going to get a bonus point or 2 or 3, as he did at the weekend. You like Jose Sarr, Dean?
Yeah, and I think what will help him here is that Wolves are trying to sign a new centre-back at the moment. They've been short in there since they stupidly let Connor Cody leave. They're now trying to fix that. It's possible that player ends up being Craig Dawson from West Ham, somebody they've looked at a lot. So that's plausible, and I know that's not going to get many people that excited and sure that this Wolves team will keep clean sheets, but I think they will, because it kind of reminds me of like a Roy Hodgson type team where you're just drilled and drilled and drilled, and you know your job, and you just become so resolute. You know each other inside out, and you're making your movements like all in unity. And I know like that's just part of the game anyway, but like I think this is going to become a big part of what Wolves do. And so as a result, it might be that Sarr's got less shots coming at him as well anyway. So look, Wolves are definitely turning a corner. They're making some very interesting signings. Lamina, I think the Wolves, they tweeted like, who's getting Lamina in their team, their FPL team then? And everyone's like, not me.
Yeah, you don't score goals, mate.
Yeah, 4.5 million. Everyone's like, no. And they're like, oh, okay then.
The Wolves defence is worth noting. You can get the likes of well over 3.9, who at the moment, a regular starter, 8 Nori could change that, and the centre backs are 4.4. But look, in general, check out the Wolves defence, and I do think they'll be good value. The pronunciation on Nonto is like Noki, right? You drop the G. So there you go. Thanks for those questions in, and good to see the chat. Loads of questions in the chat. We'll get some questions later in the show. And as always, if it's topical and what we're on, we'll answer that question there and then. So there we go. There are 3 players that I like the look of. I'm not saying bring them into your team straight away. I'm just saying, look, add them to your watch list. And then later, when we do the bonus beast section, we've got some real treats for you in there as well, because there's been some players that have really caught the eye this weekend, and the bonus stats kind of back it up. But next on, look, we've got to see our teams. We've then got Transfernomics coming up as well. Stay tuned for the next, we got 40 minutes left. Make sure you're giving us a like and subscribe. There's over 175 of you watching. So please do hit that like button if you can. Great to have your support. And apparently the likes and the subscribes are all good for the YouTube algorithm. I don't really understand it, but I know if you hit those buttons, it's good for us. So thank you for that. So let's check out our teams up next. Good week, Dean. Good week so far.
Yeah, 59. That's okay, isn't it? Yeah, it's gonna work, especially considering when you look at my front line, what they've brought to the table. 7 points between them. So yeah, it's obviously all from the defence, really. Kepa, Trips, and Thiago Silva. So thank you, lads, for putting those shows up. Holland, we'll wait and see. Doesn't really matter anyway. See, as everybody's got him either triple or captain. Kane, obviously Tottenham were a big letdown in their last fixture. Let's see if he can deliver in the second. And Martial, we talked before about how that was a punt. Weren't even sure if he was going to be fit for one or both of these games. I don't even know if he's going to play this second one now.
Do you think he was injured when he did? Was it report? I know he's flagged, so I'm guessing he did go off injured at half time. It was a weird time to make a sub.
Well, he went down during the first half, didn't he, at one point? And then he came off. So I'm presuming he was a knock. I haven't even followed it up. But yeah, I guess so.
He plays Wednesday night, so unlikely,
yeah, I imagine there's a chance. Either way, I can't do anything about it now.
Mitro got 0 though, so it was a good move. You're 1 point up.
Oh mate, Mitro's penalty killed me. That did. I'm so glad I've got rid of him because that side of things has now gone. But emotionally, it still pained me. Obviously,
3 and 6 he's missed this season. He is rubbish at pens, mate. I said that.
This is a joke, I
said this a while ago, and you were like, "No, he's not that bad." I was like, 3 and 6 is terrible. Give him to Andreas.
This is not fair. They were digging up the penalty spot. They've properly had a dig of that spot, and he's actually slipped and messed it up. I can't believe it's happened.
I'll celebrate,
I really can't.
Because loads of my mates had Mitro, and if he scores that goal, it's the win. They probably win 1-0.
Oh yeah,
and he gets a 3 bonus. That's a 9-pointer. That's 6 goals. That's 4, 2, and 3 bonus. That's a 9-point swing for those that own Mitro.
Yeah, that's a good point. I imagine, to be honest, he will be off pens now. I'd be surprised if they carried on with this.
He didn't look like he was going to take it. There was someone else. Andreas was holding the ball when they were looking at the VAR.
I think it was to keep Mitro out of the picture. Yeah, I think it was just to keep Mitro out of the picture and let him focus on what he was about to do, which was mess up one of the biggest chances of our season. But we've got a few good penalty takers in that team, so like it doesn't have to be Mitro.
Willian can take them as well.
Willian can take them. We've got a few, and look, we'll have to wait and see. Like, at the end of the day, he is the main man. He's the goal scorer. It takes a lot for him to give up a goal and a chance like that. Yeah. But yeah, glad he's gone. Martial will be going from this team. I obviously am not keeping him beyond this week. This Martinelli thing, I saw somebody else bring that up too. I talked 2 weeks ago about how the fact Odegaard is the best player in this league. Why have I not got him? I still haven't got him. I forgot again. I keep forgetting that Odegaard is the best player in the league. He's the one I need. I didn't need De Bruyne. I needed Odegaard.
Yeah. Although the De Bruyne Salah move kind of paid off. It was 2.
It's fine. Yeah.
But what do you that Mitro pen? Because I know loads in the chat will own him. I just want to know. I don't know if you saw this, Dean. Missed penalty in FPL gets -2, right? So he misses that penalty, but FPL didn't treat it as a miss for like a good hour, I think. So he wasn't given -2, and FPL managers were really annoyed that he missed the pen, but he didn't get any minus points. So it was like, okay, it's not the end of the world. He's still getting 2 points. And then I think just around the end of the game, maybe just after the game, they went -2. It is a missed pen, because some were saying it's not a missed pen, it's a foul. And if you foul in the game, that's the action. But it was absolutely the right call from official FPL. Just like they took Saka's assist off for the Lloris own goal, they took the point. Yeah. The -2 they added to Mitro.
I mean, it's a miss because ultimately what you have to consider he's done is the actual penalty kick with his right foot. He's just kicked against his left foot. So that's a miss. It hasn't gone in the goal, and it can't carry on. So like, it's a miss. So I don't think they've got that right. I understand, like, you could argue until the cows come home that like it's a foul because a foul is then given. But even the commentator, did you hear the commentary? He was like, "This might have to be retaken."
Oh yeah, I was like, "What are you on about?" I was like, "When?"
Oh my goodness, that's like such an oversight of the rules. Like, what are you talking?
Sky commentators, the standard.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm already like flummoxed sometimes by the fact nobody's actually learning the VAR rules and the offside rules on a weekly basis, so they can actually tell us what's going on. But what a rule like that, I was like, mate, this isn't a retake. Why would it be a retake?
I think
it's like, bless him. Let him have another go.
Yeah, it was like, you can tell the Newcastle players knew straight away, like Pope was running out.
So yeah. I did too, unfortunately. I just collapsed to the ground in my living room. Bad
Other
moment.
players of note, Kepa with 10 points, brilliant. Trippier, bonus points magnet. The guy concedes a pen. He doesn't get an assist. He's still, if Newcastle keep a clean sheet, Trippier will get you bonus. That he's been player of the season by a country mile in terms of value. 2 questions on your team. Almiron, is he a long-term hold? Because we're starting to see the Almiron perhaps we expect, which is playing all right, neat and tidy, but probably not. He's not going to score a worldie every week, which is what he was relying on earlier in the season. And as we're going to speak about later, there's loads of budget mids we want to now look at. So question on him, but then also Thiago Silva and that double Chelsea defence. They look like 2 good players to own moving forward, Kepa and Thiago.
Yeah, so on Almiron, I'll probably keep him for a bit because they've got Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth. And that's a good run. And I'd fancy my chances of scoring against West Ham and Bournemouth at the moment. So I'm sure Almiron does. So I'm going to stick with him through that spell. Thiago and Kepa, I mean, last week, obviously after the Fulham game, you're thinking, whoa, can we even stick with Kepa? And then he pulls 10 points out the bag, and we're like, yes, I'm sticking with Kepa. What a bargain. And Thiago is he's just so solid. He's just so good. So I think I'm just going to stick with it. I don't ever obviously want Chelsea to get results because I'm a Fulham fan, but for FPL purposes now, I'm completely happy if they do manage to keep a clean sheet. And over the course of this season, like they're not going to carry on being as bad as they have been. Like by end of February, start of March, certainly, this Chelsea team looks totally different to how it's looked recently. Like Graham Potter, in fairness to him, has not had a decent run because he's had, well, there was the whole, injury crisis. He's had the World Cup to deal with. He's had the transfer stuff to deal with. Nothing's really been built up for him properly. And he hasn't, for a long time, been able to use his best team. So I think by the time we get to March, Chelsea probably will be strong again. And so I'll probably keep him.
It's fair. That's fair. I like that. I like the call a lot. Good week so far. We'll see how you get on Friday's show. And we'll also on Friday's show be showing you our team reveals for the game week ahead. Let's have a look at my team. Dean's on 59. I'm on 56, I think I am, without a 4-point hit. So very similar between us. I've hit the triple captainship. I'm sure you all know that by now. I'm all right about it. I genuinely, if he blanks, I'm not going to be that annoyed, if annoyed at all. I'll still feel like my strategy moving forward is fine. I've got flexibility over the other doubles, and also loads of my competition of triple captain him as well. So we'll fail together. It's the weakest chip.
That's true.
Ake was disappointing. It was Ake or Botman. Botman got 6. I don't think he got a bonus Botman. But yeah, maybe I'll go to Botman. I'm looking at Patterson to Botman as a potential move this week. I've got money in the bank to do it. Havertz, he actually got 6 points, not 5, but that's cool. Worth noting, like every time I show my team on Twitter, I get a what's Havertz doing in there. Yet he has outperformed since the restart in terms of just FPL points, the 3 popular third forwards that people have been going to, which is he's outperformed Wilson, he's outperformed Mitrovic, and he's outperformed Martial. Now, no one questions those 3 players when you post your team with Martial in it or you post your team with Mitrovic, but Havertz is ticking along nicely. He was never a long-term hold for me. It was actually only meant to be a 1-week punt, but as always with FPL, you have other fires to put out. I'm not going to sell him ahead of Liverpool because that Liverpool defence, they're actually genuinely, if you look at the underlying numbers for chances conceded, they're actually one of the worst defences in the league. Like, they are shocking in terms of chances against them. Brighton could have won 10-0. I'm exaggerating, but I'm going to keep Havertz in for that. And then I might look to sell. And honestly, the likes of Nonto have caught my eye. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with my game week. I also want Odegaard. Converting Martinelli to Odegaard, I don't know if I'm going to do, but I think I'll just go third Arsenal asset. I'm going to keep White, keep Martinelli, and I'm looking at maybe Almiron to Odegaard as an option, despite Newcastle's good fixtures. Not yet. Arsenal could play United.
Yeah.
I'm doing a Twitter giveaway, by the way, for some tickets. If you're interested, guys, Arsenal versus Man United. I'm going to be doing 2 tickets to give away on Twitter. So make sure you give me a follow.
Nice.
I think I'll do it on maybe Wednesday, Thursday this week. So both follow me and Dean on Twitter. Our handles are on the screen. So So yeah, there we go. That's my team so far. I mean, Trippier is just a machine. I'm hoping for points from Kane against Fulham. I don't think I'm going to get them against City. But money doesn't feel like it's an issue at the moment. So I'm okay having a luxury like Kane and a luxury like De Bruyne. There are loads of budget players I want though, Dean. Like we'll talk about it in the bonus points feature, but there's a lot of sort of 5-6 million mids that are smashing it at the moment.
Yeah, this is why I think it's going to become interesting, like from here on, because as I say, I think this is probably the turning point for us having such similar lineups. I'm just going through 8 players. We've got the same at the moment. I guess 9 actually, if you include the bench. But we want this to be more open so that you get more wins of your own, because it is a bit boring if you're all on the same captain for the entire season, which we basically have been. Maybe if you went on Holland for the first couple of weeks, you quickly switched. I think that we're getting to the stage whereby you should really be going for a Nonto. I think Nonto is, even when he was making those like cameo appearances for Leeds off the bench, straight away caught my eye. Sometimes you literally just need to see the first 3 touches of a player in the Premier League even to see what they're going to bring. It's like what João Felix was like the other day when he came on when he started at Craven Cottage. You're like, okay, what's he going to be like? And straight away, it's like, bang. You're like, okay, he's good. That's it. You've made your mind up. Nonto was actually pretty similar. Like he made such an impression so early, and they've just carefully brought him into the team, and now they're like, bang, right, you're ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
And he's scared of nobody. He's got so much belief in himself, and I think he's going to get better and better.
Yeah, and I love Leeds. I mean, look, they were good away at Villa. I love Leeds at Ellen Road when they're playing a team of similar level to them. And they play Brentford in game week 21. I think they'll beat Brentford. I know Brentford could be good on their day, but again, at the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony gets a 9-pointer at the weekend. It wasn't even a penalty. It was a Tony foul. Tony wins the penalty, takes the penalty, and then Tony, when he like Mitrovic, you score that and it's a 9-pointer, not a 6-pointer.
Yeah. Here's Haley just raised a point, and I actually have thought it before myself, so I'm going to ask you now. Kieran Trippier as a captain choice.
We should have triple captained him. You look at his combinations for game week scores for consistency. It's better than Haaland's in terms of picking 2 game weeks next to each other.
1, 2, 3, 4. The last 7 weeks, he's just got unbelievable scores. 11, 12.
Blank?
He got a 2-pointer again in week 13, and he got a 0 in game week 5. But basically every other week, he's had like 6s, 7s, 8s. He actually might be one of the best triple captains you can make. If there's is there a double coming up where you can just get Kieran? So
why aren't we even captaining him? He should just be even standard captain. Like Newcastle don't concede. They've had couple of 0-0s. They've had a 1-0. Even in the cup recently, they've not conceded. This is the best defense in the league, and he is a creative source in the best defense in the league.
Yeah, I mean they've got West Ham at home in a couple of weeks.
Clean sheet. Banker.
Clean sheet. I mean, especially if Moyes is still in charge. If he's not, then maybe not. But if he is, I think I might do it.
Yeah. Referee Rick did say triple captain Trippier. You did, Rick. I remember that well. I think
Fair play, Rick.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that one. There we go. Okay, we have still got loads to get through in today's show. We've got 25 minutes left to go through our bonus points beast. Definitely stay tuned for that. We're going to be answering your questions. But first up, and guys, when you see this next little clip, it's a nice excuse to have a 2-second timeout. You can hit that like button, that subscribe button. Next up, we've got Dean's take on the hottest transfers in and around the Premier League.
Yep. We're going to look at a few different ones, really, from the ones we've been talking about recently. And obviously, the fact that Mudryk hasn't arrived at Arsenal means there is now the possibility of them signing an alternative. Rafinha to Arsenal is one that's been touted, I wouldn't say heavily, but it's certainly been touted. I'm giving it a mild rating. I don't know how much Arsenal fans actually would want Rafinha. Let me know in the comments, whether you would actually want Rafinha. I guess actually, if you were to compare him to Mudryk, you probably have more faith in him making an immediate impact that would be better than Mudryk, given his experience of the league and his experience overall. But
Chelsea will take him as well, mate. We'll let Arsenal
well, they tried last
negotiate.
time, didn't they? They tried last time. Yeah, they've been there and done that already. He ended up at Barcelona. The problem here is he doesn't want to leave Barcelona. So Rafinha's just got a taste of what it's like to win a trophy with Barcelona. They beat Real Madrid in the Supercopa on Sunday night. He seemed very, very happy about it. Had the trophy on his head and all sorts, and doesn't seem to be willing to entertain the idea of leaving Barcelona, especially midway through a season. So I think it's highly unlikely. I mean, if you were to look at other alternatives that could land at Arsenal, which obviously is feasible because they're looking at options right now, people that have been on their radar in recent times are Ferran Torres, who they've tried to sign twice, Yeremy Pino they've looked at, and Moussa Diaby they've loosely looked at. I don't think Moussa Diaby is the right fit for this moment, and positionally I don't think they'll go for him. But Ferran Torres actually does interest me. I'm not sure. Again, obviously he might have a role to play over in Spain as it is, but if he doesn't, I can definitely see Arsenal trying to touch base on that one. But yeah, so Rafinha to Arsenal, I can't see it, but something will happen. Arsenal will try to do something. The one thing they won't do though is panic. They will not sign somebody just for the sake of signing somebody. They've avoided it in the past. Like when they missed out on Rafinha, like when they missed out on Vlahovic, they didn't go and just sign anybody. This is a new Arsenal that are very careful about their signings. So I think bear that in mind, and they'll be considering the fact they have got Emil Smith-Rowe now back in the equation, and it might be better to have a player that is used to the setup, used to the system, and actually understands how to play the Arteta way rather than getting in a new signing that doesn't understand it. Kvaradona from Napoli is crazy good. You're right, Ali. He's just not going to leave Napoli right now. They're on course to win Serie A. There is no chance that he's going to leave midway through.
They could win the Champions League, this Napoli team.
They're very, very good, aren't they? I mean, to beat Juve 5-1 like they did is a serious, serious statement. But yeah, I'd love to have Kvaradona.
He's in my Serie A fantasy team.
Is he the Serie A fantasy? Yeah, I don't play that.
Every week.
I'd love him in FPL. That would be a lot of fun. And Michael Scott asks about Trossard. Yeah, Trossard is also being linked to Arsenal. I mean, from an availability point of view, it's right there. Like, that is feasible. Like, Trossard is attainable in this market. Spurs touched base over a £12 million deal for Trossard. Brighton not interested in that at all. Wow. I think you've got to be doubling that probably to get close to getting that deal done. So we'll have to wait and see what Brighton make of the offers that they actually receive for Trossard. Certainly they're more happy for him to leave than somebody like Caicedo, who, I know we're not talking about Chelsea right now, but Chelsea will try to begin talks over Caicedo, I think, at the end of this week, if not then next week, as they start to try to fix their midfield problems. So yeah, that's Rafinha to Arsenal. Don't expect that one, but you never know. They might give it a go. This is a transfer that I just love for FPL reasons. It's been rumoured quite a lot. Elanga on loan to Everton. Obviously, Elanga, beyond like the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, clearly going to struggle for game time at Man United going forward. And United, I think, from what I understand, are open to the prospect of him leaving, as long as it's a club that is seriously going to benefit him and them. I've given Elanga to Everton a medium source rating because there is interest there. It's an easily doable one if it comes to it. I think, though, United would prefer that he went somewhere else. I mean, putting a player like that into a team threatened by relegation, no idea who the manager is going to be in a few weeks' time. The sort of atmosphere that you're going to be playing in, with the hatred being spewed from the stands and in the streets towards the players, is probably not an environment you want to be sending your up and coming 20-year-old forward into. And now today, as Chan points out, Dortmund are linked with Elanga. Do that. Like, that is.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to move house if he goes Everton.
He doesn't. Like, the problem is, if he went to Everton,
keep his girlfriend, doesn't have to move house, loads of benefits.
But I wouldn't pick him in FPL if he was at Everton. If he went to another club in the Premier League, I think Elanga has the potential to become an asset. Somebody, you might consider him. But if that's not going to happen, then I'm quite happy for Elanga to go off to Dortmund, do the business over there, come back, and then knock Sancho out the team once and for all, and show him what he learned at Dortmund too. And maybe Sancho has to make a move. But yeah, this is it's a big time for Elanga, and he's got a big decision to make in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I like that. I'd like to see him in the Prem just because that 4.7 midfielder with Elanga's goal threat playing in the right team. Let's say he goes to, I don't know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a mid-table team. In Brighton. He wouldn't get a start, but someone that scores goals, Leeds, I don't know. Definitely worth monitoring if he does get a move to a club that excites him.
Yeah. It's hard to find players like him in the January market, so I think there should be more interest in him from the Premier League before he signs for Dortmund. Elanga cover for Tony at Brentford, not a bad shout at all.
I've got this of it.
Yeah, indeed. Right, the final name we are going to talk about for this evening is Ruben Neves to Liverpool. This is one that's been talked about quite a lot actually in the last couple of days. It's no surprise he's been on the radar for a few years now, to be honest. He's been on Man United's too. I think even in the summer there was talk of Neves getting reasonably close with a move to Old Trafford. It didn't actually end up getting as close as we felt it was at one point. His contract's starting to wind down now at Wolves, and he's got a big decision to make, and so have Wolves if an offer lands from Liverpool. I've given it a medium rating because there clearly is some interest here from Liverpool. But it's so hard to get an answer at Liverpool or anyone related to Liverpool as to whether they're genuinely going to go and put in an offer for this guy. So I sadly don't know whether they will do that. But there are reasons to, because one, you could easily turn the player's head with an offer. Like he's considering his future right now. He's been very loyal to Wolves so far. Maybe he does see out his contract, but a big club like Liverpool coming in, it's obviously intriguing. And Wolves might just want to cash in at this point. There might be a small temptation to say, okay, let's see what we can get for this player. And then we'll invest that money into another player who can give us as much joy as Ruben Neves has given to us in the last few years. I think Ruben Neves would be a really good fit for Liverpool. I think he'd be a player they're crying out for. Fatal says they need all the help they can get. Absolutely. Leo says Bellingham is better. I don't really think it's one or the other. I think they would still try to be in the conversation for Bellingham, to be honest. But Bellingham obviously not moving until the summer. Thought Liverpool wanted Mateus Nunes from Wolves. Yeah, there's interest. I mean, there's been interest in him too for some time. That would not happen until the summer. So yeah, Ruben Neves, we'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised if he now, given Wolves have turned the corner and are actually looking like they might have a decent end to this season if he actually sees it out. Yeah. But as I say, if you want to try and turn his head, now is the time.
This is a guy that moved to the Championship and was the best player in that division to get Wolves into the Prem. He's got a loyalty to that club. But also, am I right in thinking he's the captain without Cody? He's definitely one of the captains in that club. So yeah, it would be an interesting one to turn his head mid-season. But yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Dean. Dean, guys, if you're just joining us and don't realise, like, I'm trying to give you tips as a guy that's an enthusiastic FPL manager that does various FPL content. Dean's FPL fan and manager, good manager, but he comes into his own around actual football stories and transfers, and as a football insider and journalist is able to give a steer on things like starting 11s, which really help for FPL, and of course transfers, which is always very useful this time of year. So we do these every show during the transfer window. You can catch us Mondays and Fridays at 7 o'clock. We're still going to be answering some of your questions, but next up we're going back to FPL to look at some bonus beasts from the week so far. Here we go. Picking out 4 players that didn't make the eye test report, but are still impressing with the eye test. They're also impressing with the stats, which is why they've notched 3 bonus points this weekend. Saw some comments in the chat earlier about James Ward-Prowse. The 10, he's playing that little 10, 15 yards higher up the pitch. He's effectively playing the Odegaard role. And with that, we're seeing some Odegaard-style shots and XG and even returns. Are Southampton going to score enough goals to make James Ward-Prowse a valuable asset? I don't know. Maybe with the right fixtures, they will. They've just beaten Man City in the cup. They're looking okay in the league now. They're still towards in that relegation zone, but they're showing good signs. And this was a must-win game against Everton, and it was their talisman, their captain, that brought them through with a very well taken goal and a free kick. But he notched 0.70 xg. That's if your striker gets 0.70 xg, you're very, very happy. 4 shots on target. I think he hit the woodwork as well. 3 key passes. Smashed it in the bonus points, Dean.
Yeah, I didn't actually see this game and beyond the 3-4 minute highlights, but apparently he played a bit of a different role too, and has been.
He's like number 10.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. So Nathan Jones clearly was concerned about the way things were going because it was dreadful. Most people expected that he didn't have a backup plan, a new system to play. He has changed the system at Southampton. They've just had 3 good results in a row. And James Ward-Prowse, who actually even the Southampton fan base hadn't been very impressed with for most of this season, are now seeing, the guy that they've stuck with them through thick and thin, digging them out of trouble when they need it most. A lot of composure he's showing too. He's been such a good player for Southampton, hasn't he, for such a long time. You'd think by now that actually we'd learn this every season, that Ward-Prowse is probably worth having, but you never really know when he's going to hit this form. That's probably the biggest problem. But as you say, as a bonus beast, he probably is worth contemplating.
So Shea Adams did start the football match, but I'm just looking at the touch map now, Dean, and Ward-Prowse's average position, because I saw some comments in the chat saying he played as striker. I was like, no, he didn't. He played as number 10, and he did play as number 10 behind Shea Adams, the striker. However, when you look at the average position maps, it does look like he was the striker. He was front and centre and the most advanced player on the pitch. More advanced than the wide forwards, more advanced than Shea Adams. These are the positions we want to see him in. And I like this shift in formation. And I think from memory, when Ward-Prowse first came onto the scene, 10 years ago, he was getting game time in that number 10 role. He was a number 10 and he was sort of moved back in a 2-man midfield and has been playing there for a long time. Well, if he's playing higher up the pitch, he has the goal threat. We know he hits the ball. Is he the best? Did he hit the ball sweeter than any player in the Premier League in terms of set-piece delivery? I think so. I think James Ward-Prowse corner or set-piece is probably the most dangerous.
Him and De Bruyne, Him and De Bruyne are probably,
Now the two, aren't they? And if we look at free kicks in terms of direct free kicks, well, look, it's like a penalty for him. 14% scored, not quite penalty odds, although he has actually missed a couple of pens recently. He's so good from free kicks. I think Pickford should save the free kick at the weekend, but that's irrelevant. Look at the numbers here. Conversion rate, and this is taken from Opta Analyst, 14.4%. These are the best free kick takers we've seen, right? These aren't all currently playing either, like the likes of Pirlo retired. These are the best free kick takers of our era, and James Ward-Prowse is smashing them. For those of you that can't read the graphic, he's ahead of Messi, who's at 9%. Pjanic is 12%, it's the closest to him, and Pirlo at 12%. James Ward-Prowse at 14% conversion, 16 goals from 111 attempts. It's just worth noting the fixtures in FPL are good for him. I just want to, again, add him to your watch list. Not saying go and sell an Almiron for him or an Andreas for him straight away, but with Villa, Brentford, Wolves up next, I genuinely think he's worth consideration for that 4th midfield spot.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's have a look at who we got next in the bonus beasts feature. Ward-Prowse was the one that stuck out, but look, Tony too. If he doesn't get the pen, Dean, as I said earlier, which I think is a foul on the defender, the Bournemouth defender, then he gets a 2-pointer. Instead, it's a 9. He doesn't miss pens. And his XG in the game was still good, 0.82. He wins duels, 4 out of the 5 he went for. Do you like him as an FPL option? Because I think I've probably only ever owned Tony once. And when I owned him, I think he did well for me. But I don't know. I don't know why I don't go there. Maybe I feel like I should be paying 6.5 for a Brentford player, not 7.5 for a Brentford player, but his returns are very good. And I considered Havertz to Tony this week for a hit. If I would have taken it, I'd have been a point down with Tony in my team, not Havertz. I don't know if that's it. I don't know if that would leave me in a better position or not. But Leeds and Southampton up next. I wouldn't be surprised to see goals, but surely he'll be suspended soon from the betting scandal.
Yeah, exactly. This is one thing we don't know how long it's going to take this investigation to go on for and how long he's actually going to be available for. I guess ultimately, like, we'll know as soon as that's the case, and you can take him out of your team. And you're right. Like, if I wasn't a Fulham fan, I probably would consider Ivan Toney. I just can't face having any Brentford players in my team. I can deal with Chelsea. They've been in the Premier League a long time, but Brentford I haven't got my head around at the moment. He's a really, really good player. He really is. And he's so assured, so confident. And you're right. He doesn't miss. He doesn't miss. He's a proper talent. And I think if this like investigation wasn't going on, I think there would actually be clubs looking at him right now. I think he'd have probably gone to the World Cup. And I think he'd probably be talked about now as a potential transfer for a bigger club. So that's where we're heading in the summer. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, what comes from this investigation. But Ivan Toney, he's a bit of a machine.
Yeah, he is. He is. I saw a picture of him wearing a Newcastle shirt the other day, playing for Newcastle, I think in the Championship. He was so scrawny, and I was like, wow, it looks like a different bloke. Like he's so wedged now, and yeah, sure, like when you're 19, you haven't fully developed. But I was just surprised. I expected him to have that natural sort of stocky build. It's not. He's clearly changed his physique and worked on it to be this sort of force up front because he wins all the headers. But I think he's only 5'11". Like he's shorter than most of centre backs marking him. Yet you can see, I mean, these are his ground duel stats, but he wins a lot of his aerial duels as well. He's a force.
Yeah. I mean, the problem, like, in terms of an actual transfer in real life for Toney to get to a big team whereby more people would consider him is like, how much would he actually cost in this market? Like, honestly, it's going to be well upwards of £50 million at the moment. Like, when you see some of these other deals that are going on, the fact he's actually scored goals in the Premier League, like Ivan Toney is suddenly like, what, a 70, £75 million forward? Like, it sounds ridiculous. That's probably not ridiculous.
26 years old. It's the right age, isn't he?
It's the right age. And like, I see someone mentioning, Matty mentions Man United in the chat. They've been linked with him before. I don't think they'll go down that route, but I mean, there's worse options out there.
Yeah, there really is. We'll move on now. We've gone Ward-Prowse in our bonus beast. We've done Toney. We've got two more coming up for you guys. We have to speak about how we have managed to go FPL content for 54 minutes and not speak about Brighton. And it's because I've been saving it for this guy.
Yeah.
Since De Zerbi has come in, he's a real goal threat. And we spoke about Solly March on this very stream about a week ago. I'm sure it was on this stream, Dean. It was you and I saying he's now shooting on sight. He's confident. And he goes and clocks a 0.79 XG game, 2 goals. He gets an assist, 50 touches. Just looks amazing. And I know we've been building up Matoma for the last few weeks, but Solly March is just as effective. And I genuinely think it's a 50-50 call which one of those you buy if you're going to go for a Brighton midfielder. And if you're going for Brighton midfield, I think you go, or Brighton attack, you go March Matoma over Ferguson, who will share minutes with Welbeck. Welbeck's always injured, but you'd think he'd be first choice. But the fixtures are there. Leicester poor at the back. Bournemouth poor at the back. Palace are terrible at the back at the moment. Solly March and Matoma are both getting points galore. Now, I know that unlikely in game week 25 is going to be a blank game week and Brighton are likely to have a blank. Don't worry about game week 25 yet, guys. There is points on offer. And I genuinely think from all the players we've discussed, if I'm selling an Almiron or an Andreas, I'm going March or Matoma over any of the other great players we've spoken about, like Ward-Prowse on this stream. I looked at the average position map again on this Brighton game. He's the most advanced player on the pitch, more advanced than Ferguson, more advanced than Matoma, which was interesting. Now, is that a one-off? Maybe, but I'm really keen to look back at some other touch and heat maps to go, is it March and Matoma that's that little bit closer to goal in the last 3-4 games? And I think it's probably quite even. Sod's Law, the one you go for, the other one will get points. They're similar in value. Dean, if you're going for one or the other, is it Matoma because he's probably passed the eye test for a good month or so, whilst March is just out of nowhere gone, okay, now he's starting to shoot?
I don't know. I've liked March all season. I've never actually been tempted enough to put him in, but like, especially early in the season when you were watching this team, March was getting into some really good spaces, and the way that this side, like, they all push up one side and then it turns and everybody goes up the other way. Like, Solly March has been integral in the way that this team has been able to pivot and attack. And I'm intrigued by him. I'm not sure I'm ever going to be brave enough to pick Solly March, but there's something about him that makes me think I probably should be a bit more respectful of what he actually offers to this game.
Since the restart, the 4 game weeks, Solly March has had one set of 90. He's been coming off at 75.
Yeah.
Matoma's had 2 90s and an 89. So in terms of who gets hooked earlier, it's usually March. And I just wonder if the 4.9 Matoma over the 5.1 March, plus those minutes I just mentioned, might give me, I might go Matoma just because of that slightly longer minutes, slightly cheaper, because I think their output's so similar and it's game dependent. March was obviously the better of the two against Liverpool. But to have that goal threat against Liverpool, I know they've been poor at the back, Liverpool, but it's still Liverpool. Brighton are just so impressive. They are scoring goals for fun. And at Leicester and Bournemouth and Palace in the next 3, they also are due a double game week. There's a lot of talk that Brighton will get a double game week very soon. Annoyingly, we probably won't know pre-21 deadline about the doubles. We might have to wait. Therefore, rolling a transfer this week, if you can, to then make that decision might be the shout. I might give my Brighton midfielder one more week. Means I won't have them for Leicester away, which isn't the end of the world because it is Leicester away, not Leicester at home. But then for Bournemouth at home, potentially as part of a double game week for Brighton, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think that's probably a good tactic to consider. Yeah, I mean, we've got a big weekend coming up, so I'm looking forward to Friday actually, because I think there's some big decisions to make. And the big temptation for me is, do I get Odegaard in now or do I wait on him too? So yeah, I gotta weigh up that one in the next few days.
Yeah. Fourth and final on the bonus beasts. We're going to be really quick on this one. That loads have got Kepa. It feels like loads have got him in the FPL community. If you're watching this stream, I'm guessing about a third of you have got Kepa. 6.9% overall rank, much lower. But just want to mention Kepa because his value. Like 4.6 for the starting Chelsea keeper. He's going to keep his spot until the summer where Chelsea perhaps will buy a keeper. I don't know. But he's definitely first choice over Mendy, even when Mendy's fit. And he played really well against Palace. And I know he's occasionally very, very poor and he has those off games and he makes those errors. But he's also, on his day, a very good shot stopper when he's confident. And look, because Chelsea don't score a huge amount of goals, a bit like I said about Jose Sarr, with bonus points, you're competing with your teammates. So for Ederson to get 3 bonus is really rare because with Ederson, he's probably going to be in a team that scores loads and has loads of players get assists. Well, Chelsea will have a lot of games where they just score 1. Therefore, if Kepa keeps a clean sheet, there's a good chance he'll be in and around the bonus, especially when he's making 5 saves as he did at the weekend. So,
yeah. It's funny. The only people in my mini league that don't pick Kepa are Chelsea supporters because they go and watch him every week and they don't like him. But
he's not a great player, but he's a good FPL asset, and there's a big difference there.
Asset, and that there is a difference. So that's where I'm at, and that's why I'm happy to have this Chelsea player on my team.
Loads of you in the chat are joining late. We're actually about to round up, but if you have missed today's show, please go back and watch it. Eddie and Tiffany, I think you've recently joined. I know you were in earlier. So go back and watch the last hour because we've looked at our teams. It's been a proper packed show, genuinely one of the biggest shows and busiest shows we've done in a while.
It is, yeah.
We did Transfernomics with Dean, his tips for some interesting moves in the Premier League, potentially around the likes of Alanga and Rafinha. We've had an eye test report. We've had all sorts of stuff. So do go back and watch. Also leave your reviews in the comments. And please do hit that like button, guys. But Dean, we'll be back Friday at 7, right?
We will be, mate. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's as I say, there's a lot to ponder for that weekend, and that Arsenal Man United fixture is just massive. So we'll do a big preview of that one too.
Yeah, good stuff, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back Friday at 7 p.m. UK time. We'll see you very soon because he's been Dean, I've been Gianni, and we've been chasing green arrows.